I also would like to make a comment that I'm aware that the FBI could have assassinated David Koresh on numerous occasions. They had him in the crosshairs of sniper rifles numerous times. And so I'm glad that they didn't do that. But in the context of everyone being dead, I don't even know what to say about that, except that I don't like the use of guns personally anyway. Okay, so questions. Yeah.
Before you do, please be thinking about your questions. Before you do, could I just ask, how many of you are here tonight because you saw the notice in the Thursday Boston Globe calendar? Okay? You raise your hands and just want to get an idea of, how this works here. How many of you are here because you saw it in the Sunday Globe City Weekly section?
This is a marketing survey.
Yeah, just keep putting notices everywhere. Yeah. How many saw it because of posters around campus? Also the Chronicle. Oh, Chronicle. Thank you. Right. Yeah. Harvard Gazette. Harvard Gazette. How many in the Harvard Gazette? Seems like they're pretty even all along. How many people in the humanist media? That was happy to say, but thanks very much.
So I just want to make one other statement before we go on with questions and answers. So just to restate, I believe that people have the right to believe whatever they want. If they want to believe Moon is the Messiah and bow to an altar with his picture on it, fine. But where I criticize organizations is in their use of methodology where they are recruiting people and indoctrinating people before there's informed choice. You need information in order to make a good choice. And when I was recruited by the Moonies, I asked the recruiters, are you part of some religious group? They looked me in the eye and said, no, not at all. And they infringed on my civil rights. And it was only the first of many different lies. I had no interest in dropping out of school, quitting my job, and cutting off from my family and friends. But due to the controls in the workshop environment, the isolation, the sleep deprivation, the manipulation of information, the use of hypnotic techniques, which I really haven't mentioned yet. But David Koresh was using hypnotic patterning. And when you're sitting there for 18 hours and he's going on and on and on with his indoctrination, it goes beyond and past your intellectual critical faculties. And I know there was a Harvard-trained lawyer who was a follower of his group. I want to restate, people involved with destructive cults are not to blame. They're not crazy, they're not weak, they're not stupid. They may have been at a vulnerable point in their life when they were approached, and they may have not asked critical questions like, well, what do you expect of me after I join, or what is the real beliefs of this group, or what is the background of the leader, or what will happen to me if I want to leave later, or what is the nature of the controversy of this group. And I believe legitimate organizations will tell people up front who they are, what they believe, and what they expect of them. And if people don't want to belong any longer, they go, good luck. They don't say, if you leave, Satan will possess you. Or if you leave, you will lose, your entire existence. Or if you leave, you will get cancer. Or if you leave, you will go insane. But destructive mind control cults do that. So this, for me, is a human rights issue. It's a consumer rights issue. And I believe that, again, that I'm not interested in criticizing a group's beliefs, but I criticize actions when it undermines people's civil liberties. Yes?
I'm curious to give some context to how you think one can go into a cult, approach it, and draw people out. What your personal experience was, how you came out of the experience you were in prior to this. Was it by invitation? Was it seems that you're saying...
You mean my coming out of the Moonies? Or my going into...
If
Waco.
It seems what you're saying is that any confrontation only proves the siege mentality and holds the person inside.
Right. Essentially, I believe in taking a loving, respectful, inquisitive.
Precisely how your process went.
Well, my process, this is an opportunity to plug my book because it will give you more detail than I can give you right now. But essentially, in my case, I fell asleep at the wheel of a van driving 80 miles an hour due to sleep deprivation. And after 2 weeks in the hospital, I was able to get permission to visit my sister, at which point my parents hired ex-members to deprogram me. And 5 days after of the deprogramming, I started questioning whether or not Moon was the Messiah. On the 4th day, I said, I don't care if Moon is like Hitler. I've chosen to follow him, and I'll follow him to the end. Coming from a Jewish background, that was very weird. But that was how I was indoctrinated. That's how far gone I was. And in coming out of that experience and realizing the horror of how far I had been taken away from myself and my own values and my own integrity, it caused me to research this whole subject and to spend 17 years of my life helping people to come away from totalitarian organizations. On a larger political note, I'd like to mention that 2 years ago I was in Moscow giving a seminar about mind control and talking about behavior control and thought control and emotional control and information control. And one of the psychologists said, Mr. Hassan, are you aware that you're describing the entire pedagogical system of the Soviet Union? And I said, yes, I am. And he said to me, you know, are you aware you're describing young pioneers in Komsomo? And I said, yes, I am. I said, the model that was used to help me to understand my Moon experience was the Chinese communist system. And a very important and relevant book to this day called Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism by Robert J. Lifton. Now, one other comment before we go on to questions. The scariest thing, the scariest single thing of everything in the last 20 years is that the U.S. government, particularly the CIA, which has done more mind control research than any other institution in the history of mankind, with the perhaps exception of the KGB, has never made a statement stating that mind control techniques exist. In fact, in 1979, ABC did a special based on a book called The Search for the Manchurian Candidate that documented CIA, LSD, hypnosis, and electroshock therapy research of the 50s and early 60s. And John Ginniger, former chief psychologist of the CIA, said that yes, they did do some mind control research, but they didn't find anything that worked, and they stopped all research in 1973, and they burned their records.